So you have to look the part, you have to be the part. That's why Raven was so easy for me, because I just took it from my childhood. You know, it wasn't like I had it. And that's why, you know, wrestlers aren't the greatest actors. And that's why we all play characters that are very close to ourselves, because it's much easier than trying to, you know, actually act. Because, you know, if we were actors, we'd probably, you know, if we were better actors, we'd probably go into acting. Although, I don't think anybody could be as bad an actor as Anakin Skywalker. Hayden Christensen, he was more wooden than George Washington's teeth. That thing, fuck, he was rotten. Was he not the fucking most rotten fucking actor of all time?
I didn't watch Star Wars. So.
You know, the second one, he was just atrocious. And so you figure now it's been 3 years, he'd have some acting lessons. Fuck, he's just horrible. I mean, he's like this. I can't believe you. Line, please. He's like the guy in a poker commercial with a poker face. You just won $1 million. Your girlfriend just fucked a cat. I can't think of anything else funny. You know, but then Richard Lewis. Remember Richard Lewis, the comedian?
Yeah.
What a neurotic schlemiel he was. But his character, the way he carried himself, his mannerisms, he'd be like, and he'd run his fingers through his hair, and he'd be like, he'd walking around the stage stressing about everything. You know, if he was just reading his material about how, you know, how his life's a mess, and was just like, my life's a mess. It's not really. It's not as interesting.
Everyone on Seinfeld's a good example of that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. So, Kramer, you believed that Kramer was a complete idiot. I mean, he was a ridiculous goofus. You know, a hipster doofus, as Elaine called him. You know, Seinfeld. He was very meticulous. You know, his house was perfectly neat. His clothes were always perfectly neat. And if it wasn't that way, it wouldn't make any sense. And so you have to carry yourself. The comedians especially, because they're alone with a microphone, so they have nothing but their presence. Like there's this, the Amazing Jonathan. You ever seen him? He's like a comedian magician. He's out of his fucking mind, but his hair's sticking out everywhere. You know, or like Bobcat Goldthwait, his hair sticks out everywhere. Because, you know, but you have to convey the part. If you're not looking or acting or behaving, you know, and then you have to do it in an over-the-top, larger-than-life way. It's much easier to be so far over the top they pull you back, as opposed to being here and they have to push you forward. And I guess a lot of it has to do with being self-conscious. Sharon's one of my closest friends in the business, and I thought he did his best stuff when he was wearing a skirt, because he put on the skirt like his Marilyn Manson thing with the what's that called?
The bustier.
Yeah, the bustier kind of thing or whatever. And he had different colored eyeballs and the whole 9 yards. And I guess at some point in his head, he's like, how can I be self-conscious? I'm wearing a goddamn dress. You know what I mean? And he stopped being self-conscious. You know. And then when he went back to being just Saturn, he was more self-conscious, you know, behind the microphone and stuff. And then they gave him a mop, and now he's like, well, how can I be self-conscious? I'm fucking talking to a mop, you know. And so, if you're self-conscious and you're like, man, everybody's looking at me, well, you're in the wrong business. I mean, you want everyone to be looking at you. You want them to be staring at you, you know. And if you're like, oh fuck, that's why you have to commit. You have to commit to stuff. So make a note of that. I'll get back to that. You have to commit to it. But you can't be self-conscious. You can't feel inhibited. Like, to me, like, I come alive. You put me in front. I mean, I put me in front of a camera. I open up twice as much. Oh, we have a visitor. Oh, we have just a finger. Is that my food? Get my food, you bastard. Rich, the cameraman, leaving. Which, what are we going to do without him, being that the cameras are on tripods? Oh, good gosh. What will we do? But you have to commit to the character. You can't be self-conscious. You can't feel inhibited, because if you feel uncomfortable with all eyes on you, you can only go so far. I mean, look at McMahon's swagger to the ring. You know, he's not self-conscious. He wants you to watch him. You know, The Rock wants you to watch him. I want you to watch me. You know what I mean? That's why I'm in this business. I want the attention. You know, the reason most people go into acting or any celebrity field is because they are insecure and they want attention. And then if you can't handle the attention once you get it, then you're in the wrong business. You know, I mean, to be famous, there has to be something missing in, you know, generally there's something missing in your own life that you need the adulation of perfect strangers, you know. But if you can't handle the adulation, then you're in the wrong business. So you can't be self-conscious at all. You have to commit to the character. If your character is a moron, and I remember one time where I got so mad at Stevie Richards. I love Stevie. And I got so mad. Back then, we and him didn't get along at all. I mean, we got along when we fought like cats and dogs. And I got so mad at him because he was supposed to do a joke about Big Dick Dudley, where he goes, "I love Big Dick." Now listen, what do you mean the rabbit died? Oh, we're back. Look at my phone, Gabe. All right, what are we talking about?
Big Dick Dudley, Stevie Richards.
Oh, right. So Stevie, Stevie's character was supposed to be a bit of a nitwit, and so he's supposed to be like talking about how he loves Big Dick Dudley, but he's like, "I love Big Dick." You know, except that he didn't want to be embarrassed by it because he was feeling really self-conscious. So he didn't want to say "I love Big Dick," but he knew he had to. So he wanted to say it in such a way where everybody knew that he was in on the joke. Which, of course, if he's in on the joke, that kind of ruins the joke. So he's like, "I love Big Dick." Actually, wait, hold on, let me think. How did he say it? However he said it, he goes, "I love Big Dick," and like almost like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I know I'm in on the joke, and I'm like, "You fucking jackass! You can't do it like that. You have to do it like, "Oh, I love Big Dick," you know, or you have no idea you're saying that you love Big Dick. That's why it's funny. If you know you're saying it, it's not funny anymore. And because he was so self-conscious, because he's already wearing, the fights I had with him trying to get him into the Daisy Dukes was ridiculous. You know, because Raven came out with these long jean shorts, ripped up. So the Stevie character was the idea was his character was a big mark for mine. So he wanted to emulate me, and so I had the ripped up T-shirts, with the rock and roll bands, and but Stevie in his own nitwit style, not him personally, but his character, not Michael Manna, but Stevie Richards, the character. Well, he thought, well, Raven's wearing jean shorts, I'll wear jean shorts, but I want to look cool. In his mind, he's cool, so he wears Daisy Dukes, which look really gay on a guy. And then instead of wearing like a black concert shirt, like a long hanging, messy, fucked up one, he'd wear a half shirt and he'd cut it nice and high to show off his abs. And he'd wear like Warren, or some other gay band. You know what I mean? And so the whole point was his character didn't get the Raven character. He was a mark for it, and then he didn't quite get it on the same level that Raven got. He was trying to emulate it, but in his own nitwit fashion, he ended up looking like a jackass, which is what makes it entertaining. And I had to fight with him tooth and nail because he didn't want to look like a jackass. Nobody wants to look like a jackass. And I'm like, look, when I was Scotty the Body, when I went to Portland, first thing Piper made me do was he hired me, gave me 3 weeks to get over, which is how it should be done. If you can't get over in 3 weeks, then you don't really belong there. You didn't get hired and get a contract for a year or 6 months, or 90. That's another thing they don't get. Make me talk about that. Everybody thinks, now that everybody gets contracts and hired for a length of time. I want to talk about that. So Piper goes, listen, and so he goes, I'm going to make you the first heel commentator we've had in Portland because I was a heel commentator in Florida with Gordon Soley, and because when we come on the air, I want you to pick your nose. So I'm like, we come in, like, I'm like, he goes, and then they'll call you Snotty the Body. It'll give you an instant recognition with the fans. Scotty the Body, because I was calling myself Scotty the Body, so I'm picking my nose, they'll call me Snotty the Body, and it'll instantly get the fans to interact with me on a level that takes a lot longer normally to get there, unless you find some way to get there faster. I'm thinking, I don't want to do that, but I'm not gonna say no, because back then you couldn't say no. Now people say, I'm not doing it. Well, we'll change it. Well, back then there was no changing it. If I would have said no, I never would have got the job. So I'm like, and on some level, I completely trusted Piper. I knew he knew what he was doing, but I didn't want to look stupid. You know what I mean? I was willing to look stupid in certain aspects, but I didn't want to look that fucking stupid. And then, but I did it anyway because I had to. And once I did it, that completely turned a switch in my head, and I got the business. You know what I mean? And so I would come on the air, and I'm like, oh, we're back. And then of course, for a rib, Piper goes, oh, we lost the footage, so the next week I had to pick my nose again. And by then I realized, you know what, this isn't bad at all. And what I ended up doing was I made these 8x10s of me picking my nose and talking to the other commentator, and then I would sell them at the matches, but I wouldn't let the fans know that I personally was selling them, so they would think that the baby faces were selling them, and they would all buy them. And then I would get to the ring, and I'd hold one of these up, and I'm like, all right, who's selling these? If any of you fans buy this picture, I'll leave, I'll never come back. So of course, people would rush to the stands, they'd buy them, I would get all mad, I'd throw a fit, the baby faces would parade around the ring holding the picture, me picking my nose, with my finger, like way up my nose, and I made a fortune off it, because the people thought they were getting to me, and I'm like, schmucks, I'm getting to you, I'm selling the pictures, but they had no idea.